Welcome to the Finding Your New Home with a Voucher training. This training will guide you through important information and tips that you should know in order to find and keep your next home using your Housing Choice Voucher. The first part of this training will guide you on best practices during your housing search as you look for housing providers to accept your voucher.
SHRA is actively recruiting additional landlords to participate in the Housing Choice Voucher program in order to assist our voucher holders in finding a safe, decent, affordable place to call home. Voucher holders must be diligent in their attempts to locate a suitable property. It can be challenging as this county has a low vacancy rate and a very competitive market for rental units. As of January 1st, 2020, Housing Choice Vouchers will be considered a protected source of income. This means, as a Housing Choice Voucher holder, you will be offered protections against discrimination from housing. However, you still must meet any selection criteria that housing providers may require. Housing providers may still deny you based on a low credit score, poor landlord references, and evictions.
The first place voucher holders should look for an available unit is www.sacramento.gosection8.com. This site has available units in the area that accept the voucher. You will be able to see what the rent is and the utilities provided, which allows you to check the affordability worksheet to ensure that the rent amount is affordable for you. You may also want to check out these other listed websites. As the market is tight, it is extremely important to check postings on a regular basis and contact them promptly. That perfect unit may be off the market within a couple of days. Most housing ads are only available online. If you do not have internet access, you can visit a local library where they can help you sign up for a library card and allow you to use one of their computers. Many advertisements will have an email as a preferred contact method. If you do not already have an email address, you may want to set one up on a site like gmail.com, outlook.com, or yahoo.com. There are approximately 30 different locations of Sacramento County public libraries around the county. You can call 1-800-561-4636 and they can help you find one near you. Along with looking through ads online, keep an eye out for rent and now leasing signs. During your search, keep a notepad or your phone handy so you can pull over and take a picture or write down the contact information. While searching for a unit, you may find a unit that seems too good to be true, such as a 3-bedroom house in good condition that is only $800 a month. You might think, my 1-bedroom voucher could cover that amount. Well, beware. That advertisement may be a scam. Scam artists have been found on every rental listing site. Here are some other signs that an advertisement might be part of a scam. When you contact them, the landlord states that they are out of the state or out of the country, and you will need to wire the money to them. They might say, you can check out the exterior of the home and the neighborhood and get back to me. And oh, I no longer have a contract with the property management company, so don't call them. I'll have the sign removed as soon as I find a responsible tenant. Be cautious if the owner does not require any background or credit check, and the application is extremely short and sent within the text of the initial email. Some legitimate owners may also have little or no screening and a short application, but if you see other signs, it's likely a scam. Be aware. It's not a good idea to provide a deposit if you've never been given the option to view the inside of the unit. Some scammers will tell you that you will receive your keys only after you send cash or wire transfer your deposit. You will most likely never receive a set of keys. Scam artists will take your money and run. During your search, you may find that many of the apartment complexes that accept vouchers have waiting lists. Affordable tax credit communities in Sacramento County accept vouchers, but almost all either have waiting or interest lists. A wait list means that when the unit becomes available, They will offer that vacancy to the next person on the list, determined by who has been on the list the longest. An interest list means when that vacancy becomes available, they will send out a notice to everyone on the list and will consider the first application processed. In order to increase your odds of finding a unit that will accept your voucher, you should consider being placed on all interest lists and wait lists, especially those with an anticipated wait of 6 months or less, as others on the wait list may find housing before they are contacted. Wait lists may move quicker than expected. When you do find a property where you would like to live, and they will consider accepting your voucher, you need to see if you meet their selection criteria. You should ask what the property selection criteria are before applying to the property. Most will be able to share this in writing. Make sure that you meet their selection criteria standards before applying. You ensure that your application will be considered rather than paying the screening fee, filling out the application, and being automatically disqualified. If you are close to a selection standard but fall just below meeting it, you should talk to the housing provider to explain your circumstances and what you're willing to do to rectify the situation, and see if they will be willing to consider your application. Some things that landlords will usually check is your credit score, your credit report, your criminal history, your income, and previous landlord's references. Your credit score is reviewed by a landlord to show your likelihood to repay debt. It is tracked by 3 different credit reporting and monitoring bureaus: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. They track everything from repayment history, amount of debt ratio, outstanding bills, including amounts owed for health care, past utility bills, past landlords, etc. Many landlords will set a minimum score that they will consider, and many times this is around 500 to 550. Your credit score is based 35% on your payment history, 30% on your amounts owed, 15% on the length of your credit history, 10% on new credit, and 10% on types of credit used, and will range from a score of 300 to 850. A poor credit score can disqualify you from most apartments. It is important that you work to improve your credit score if it is low. Here are some nonprofit resources that can assist you in getting enrolled in debt resolution programs that can mediate with creditors for lower payoff amounts. They can help you balance your budget and payments, and can fix some errors on your credit report. Most of these services are free, while others may have small fees. Some fees can be waived depending on your income. A landlord may consider accepting a low credit score if you can show proof that you are actively making steps to improve your score. Most landlords will call former landlords to ensure that you left on good terms. Your credit report and screening will also show if there are any court records of an eviction or amounts owed to a landlord. If your landlord had to issue you notices regularly, you did not pay your rent on time, or you left your former unit messy and damaged, these things may come back to haunt you as you look for your new home. It is important to leave your former units on good terms. You should also make sure to keep an up-to-date contact information of your former landlords. If you had a good relationship with certain management staff, give their information as the contact for your landlord. If you had a good relationship with the former landlord, see if they will be willing to write a letter of recommendation for you as a tenant. This may help, especially if you have issues like poor credit score that may show up during screening. In the process of screening, a landlord may charge each person in a household who is over 18 for a credit background check. That amount must go to the actual cost for the screening. If the landlord doesn't use the entire fee amount towards the screening cost, or never does a background credit check, they should give a refund of the unused portion and an itemized receipt for any amount unused. If you request, the landlord must supply you with a copy of the credit check used. Some landlords will accept a copy of your credit report instead of running one of their own, which could save you the fee amount. If you are having trouble paying for screening fees, call 211 and they will be able to tell you of any resources in your area that may be able to assist. Some apartments require a holding deposit to take a unit off the market and have it held for a tenant. You should not have to pay any fees just to see a unit. You should be certain about moving into a unit before paying any holding deposit. If you change your mind, the landlord can keep some or all of the holding deposit until they are able to find a suitable tenant. If you do pay a holding deposit, this amount should be put towards your move-in cost when you do move in. It is important to view and inspect the unit before paying any deposit. Make sure heating, water, electrical systems are all in good working order. Turn faucets, lights, heaters, air conditioners on and off to ensure that they're working properly. Check in cabinets, corners, and crevices for signs of insect or rodent infestation. Look in bathrooms and other areas for signs of mold. Look for other possible issues like cracked or holes in windows. Poor property upkeep like excessive peeling paint. All of these items will be checked during the Housing Quality Standards inspection as well for the unit to be approved. Any of these conditions may cause the unit to fail inspection. If you do have any concerns, communicate that those items must be repaired before the inspection and your move-in. If your landlord seems unwilling to repair the items, that may be a sign that you don't want to move forward with the unit. The unit may not pass inspection and will not be approvable. You do not want to put your money down for a unit you will not be able to move into. When you meet the landlord in person, this is your chance to make a great first impression and show why you'd be a great tenant. You should treat this meeting the same as a job interview. The landlord will be evaluating you during this encounter to see whether or not you seem like someone that they can trust to take care of their property. If you're bringing family, make sure that everyone is presentable. Even the kids' clothes should be clean and neat. Talk to your children beforehand about appropriate behavior and bring an activity like a favorite coloring book or coloring supplies with you to keep them occupied in case your conversation with the owner goes long. The whole family should be friendly to the landlord. Just like an interview, you should dress for success. Business casual clothing is perfect. You will want to make sure that you're organized when meeting a property manager or landlord. Make sure that they understand that you have a voucher. If you are filling out an application in their office, bring information about the members of your household, former addresses, former landlord's contact information, and employment information. You will also want to bring your RIFTA and your voucher with you. You should bring IDs and proof of income for all adults in the household. It's up to you to prove to the landlord that you're going to be an ideal tenant, especially if you have credit issues, poor landlord references, and evictions. This is going to take much more effort. Some best practices have worked to get landlords to consider people with barriers that may include writing a personal letter to the landlord explaining why they should rent to you and what you are doing to overcome your past. In your letter, you may want to include information such as an introduction to your family, any major life traumas that you have had to overcome, what you are actively doing to improve your situation in life, how you keep your home. Landlords want you to keep their units nice and clean. Bring pictures. How you live within your means. Landlords want some reassurance that you are not going to have an issue paying your tenant portion of your rent and utility bills. What steps you are taking to overcome any major barriers in your life. A landlord may be more likely to rent to a person who can show proof of being an upstanding citizen and showing good character. Ask employers, case managers, former landlords, and other professionals that you may regularly interact with to write a letter of recommendation on why landlords should consider you and what efforts you have been working on to improve your life. Be upfront about your credit and background issues. If they are performing a screening, the landlord will find out. Have proof of what you're doing to resolve your issues, showing that you are working with a financial counselor or agency, for example. Tell them about your achievable financial goals. Show the landlord that you're excited to be a part of the local community. Are you interested in your children attending the local schools? Are you excited about utilizing local parks? Is there a neighborhood association or neighborhood watch that you could look into joining? Are there farmers markets that you want to go to? How could you see yourself improving the community, Do your research about the community. Landlords want a tenant who is going to make their property a home and positively contribute to the community. Some landlords may be interested in having you as a tenant, but don't know enough about the voucher program, or they may need assistance filling out the paperwork. If your potential landlord is interested in learning more about working with SHRA and accepting vouchers, you can have them contact April Overly by email at aoverlie@shra.org or call 916-449-6330. This contact can only assist with information for housing providers and will be unable to assist you with the questions or issues with your voucher. For general voucher questions, please contact SHRA Customer Service Line at 916-440-1390 for those concerns. Once you find the landlord to accept the voucher and you submit your RFTA, it's important to do what you can to be a responsible tenant to remain housed in the unit. The next portion of this training will contain information about your tenant responsibilities and tips for being a good tenant. It is important to keep a record of all your rental documents. You may have to reference these in the future. Keep a folder or binder and include a copy of your lease agreement, property rules, time-stamped photos, and a written checklist of the condition of the unit when you moved in. Be sure and have the agent sign the checklist. You are responsible for returning the unit in the same condition of cleanliness when you move out, minus reasonable wear and tear. These documents will be your proof when you move out of any imperfections that were in the unit before you moved in. Keep a copy of all correspondence with your landlord. All correspondence should be in writing. Only communicating over the phone and in person leads to he said and she said situations. If there's ever a dispute, it is important to have a copy available in writing of what was agreed upon. Text messages are not the best form of communication, as they can easily be misinterpreted. They are also not to be considered proper written notice for any notices your landlord may serve you. Your folder should include a copy of all interactions with your landlord and the housing authority, including notices, rule changes, and repair correspondence. You never know when an issue may arise where you need a copy of these documents. It's extremely important that you pay your tenant portion of the rent on time each month. Your rent should be the first bill that you pay. If the rent is late, you can not only rack up late fees for paying after the due date, but you can be served a 3-day notice to pay or quit the day after the rent is due. If you do not pay the full amount due within those 3 days, you can be served an unlawful detainer from the court, which is the first part of an eviction proceeding. You can lose both your home and your voucher if evicted. Evictions can show up on your credit report for 7 years, disqualifying you from renting most apartments and homes. It is also important to be able to show proof that you have paid your rent and that you have a way to track the payments. There have been people that have paid rent in cash, never received a receipt, and had no way of proving that they indeed did pay their rent. Make sure you keep receipts of your payments. If you make electronic payments, ensure that you have a receipt and a way to track and confirm your payments. It is safer to pay rent through check or money order rather than cash. Take a picture of the check or money order and keep it for your records. The U.S. Postal Service and your bank will have money orders available that have better tracking systems that can assist you in the case that it's lost or stolen. A landlord cannot force you to pay rent in cash. They must offer at least one other way for you to pay your rent. If you find it difficult to pay your rent each month, you may want to consider some of these programs that may lower your monthly bills, making it easier for you to pay your rent on time and in full each month. You may qualify for a free or discounted cell phone plan through the Lifeline program. There are reduced cost internet plans for CalFresh recipients through AT&T and Comcast. The Low Income Heating Energy Assistance Program, or HEAP, can help lower your heating costs during the winter months.
PG&E and SMUD both have assistance programs for low-income families.
The CalFresh program may help you save money on food each month by providing funds on an EBT card to be used for food. Receiving CalFresh can also qualify you for other cost-saving programs. There are also many food banks in the area that are here to help family make ends meet and have a wide variety of items available for families. If you have children 5 and under, WIC can help with items like fruits and vegetables, dairy items, and much more. Some other types of assistance programs include prescription assistance program, low-income insurance assistance for health care and auto insurance, free tax preparation, debt consolidation, budgeting, financial counseling programs, and low-cost or free veterinary care and pet food for your animals. There is also emergency financial assistance available for rent, utilities, and other urgent needs. You can find out about all of these programs by calling 211. 211 could connect you with information about all of the different social services available to you in the community. They can also be reached through 1-800-500-4931 and 916-498-1000.
You and your neighbors have the right to peaceful, quiet enjoyment of your homes. It is your responsibility to be civil with your neighbors. Disturbances or commotions caused by issues getting along with neighbors do not have to be tolerated by your landlord and or a violation of your lease. In general, you also need to keep any noise at a reasonable level, both in your unit and on the property. Amplified music, visiting guests, voices, television should not be loud enough that they are disturbing your neighbors. You need to do your part to keep the property neat and tidy. Your landlord may have policies about any belongings found in common areas or entryways. It is usually acceptable to have a few flower pots and a welcome rug, but this is not always the case. There should never be any garbage, items in disrepair, clutter, or anything that blocks walkways in these areas. It is your responsibility to ensure that your guests follow all property rules and treat the property with respect. You can be given a notice by your landlord if your guest does not obey the rules. You can also be held liable for the costs to any repair or damages that they do on the property or to your unit. If you have guests that are constantly coming and going from your unit, this may be seen as a nuisance and you may be given a notice. Long-term guests may be a violation of your family obligations under the HCV program and are usually not allowed in your lease. It is important that you read your lease and know how long a guest may stay before it becomes a violation. According to your family obligations with SHRA, a guest may not stay more than 30 nights in a 12-month period. It is your responsibility to ensure that your unit is well maintained. Keep your unit reasonably clean and free of debris. Left out food and garbage in a unit can encourage mold and infestations by mice, rats, fleas, roaches, bed bugs, and other vermin. If the cleanliness of a unit has contributed to an infestation, the landlord may charge you for the expense of pest control. You need to keep walkways and exits clear of belongings to ensure that your possessions are not creating any safety issues. This is not only enforceable by your lease, but also by the fire marshal and code enforcement. If any repairs are needed in your unit, make a written repair request promptly to your landlord. If repairs go unreported, the problem can worsen and go from a small fix to a large expensive project. Keep written records of the repair request. If there are any damages to your unit above reasonable wear and tear, or that is tenant caused, you will be responsible for paying for the repair. Your initial lease term is a binding 1-year agreement. You have to stay in the unit for the entire year. You must give a 30-day notice to vacate to both your landlord and the housing authority, only after the initial first year. If you leave before the term ends, you can be held legally responsible for the full amount of the contract rent until the unit has been re-rented, unless you have developed an alternate agreement with the housing authority and your landlord. You may also be at risk of losing your voucher if you fail to provide written notice to SHRA and your landlord before vacating your unit. You can be served a 3-day notice to perform covenants or quit if you violate your lease or property rules. With this notice, you have those 3 days to communicate with your landlord and show how you are in compliance. If there is any illegal activity or major nuisance on the property, you may be served a 3-day notice to quit. After any notice has expired without compliance, the landlord may serve an unlawful detainer and start eviction proceedings. You should be aware that all notices that your landlord serves you are also sent to the housing authority, and it's your responsibility to provide a copy within 15 days of being served. If you are served a notice for lease violations, you may be scheduled for a mandatory tenant conference with the housing authority. Not abiding by your family obligations and your lease agreement, or being evicted, may lead to you losing your voucher. If you do receive an eviction, it will be on your public record for 7 years, disqualifying you from renting from most landlords. It's important that you be responsive to any type of notice and ensure that you are abiding by your lease agreement so that you're able to stay in the safe, decent, and affordable home that you have found with your Housing Choice Voucher. If you have a disability, you have the right to request a reasonable accommodation or modification in order that you may fully access your unit and have an equal opportunity to use and enjoy your home. Here are some examples of reasonable accommodations and modifications. Renters Helpline and Project Sentinel can help guide you through the process of a reasonable accommodation or modification request and may help mediate with your landlord. They may also investigate if there was discrimination if a request is denied by a housing provider. Fair housing laws ensure that everyone has equal opportunity to housing. The following classes are protected by law. You cannot be discriminated against or denied housing based on your race, skin color, religion, national origin, disability, both mental and physical disabilities, familial status, marital status, ancestry, genetic information, immigration status, citizenship, primary language, age, sexual orientation, source of income, gender, or any arbitrary characteristics. If you have questions about reasonable accommodations or about housing discrimination, please contact the Renters Helpline or Project Sentinel at 916-389-7877. They're open 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. You can also call Renters Helpline for any questions on your landlord-tenant law. They will guide you through your tenant rights and responsibilities. They can answer any questions on notices, repairs, habitability, tenant-landlord disputes, security deposits, and so on. Thank you for listening to this presentation on how to find and keep housing using your Housing Choice Voucher. Good luck on your housing search. This presentation can also be found on our website, www.shra.org, on the Resources for Housing Choice Voucher HCV Program Participants page.